health problems also may look different in men.
Things like anger or irritation or even like increased substance use can be signals of someone might be having a mental health issue.
Now, the expert recommend that family members and friends encourage open lines of communication with the men in your lives. One of the oldest steam trains in the Bay Area honored military veterans on Veterans Day by offering a chance to ride it for free. Now, the Billy Jones Wildcat Railroad in Los Gatos is 120 years old. It dates back to the 1940s. The founder originally found the train in a pile of scrap metal in San Francisco and paid $101 for it. The railroad is basically run by volunteers, and many of them are military veterans.
We're opening up our country. Should have never been closed.
President Trump celebrating the progress made to reopen the government. U.S. lawmakers now just hours away from a key vote to end the weeks-long shutdown. Then naming a new sheriff. Later today, San Mateo County supervisors will decide who'll be the next leader of the sheriff's department. The list of top candidates they're considering.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Good morning and welcome back. I'm Gassia Mikaelian.
And good morning, I'm Dave Clark. It's Wednesday, it's November 12th. Good morning to you, Gassia.
Good to be next to you.
I'm liking the colors.
Well, I took my cues from you.
Okay. Well, take your weather cues from Steve Paulson. There's a lot in our forecast.
There is.
Yeah.
Today's the cooler day after about 3 or 4 days of 70s and 80s. That's now in the rearview mirror, that's for sure. Low clouds, higher clouds, some sun breaks here in the morning, but it'll be increasing clouds throughout the day. We now have an onshore breeze versus offshore, so 50s on the temps here. I don't think these will change. There's a lot going on, but it's really a day away. Everything is developing on the backside, but clouds will be increasing. Cooler is the main message today. I mean, you get a break today, but Napa, Emeryville, Burlingame, Santa Clara, down we go here. 60s to low 70s on the highs. Wind will be a factor tonight. High wind warning on the coast and also in San Francisco. Wind advisory elsewhere there in the blue. So this is looking like a wet pattern. There are some 4-inch amounts being advertised now, especially in the Santa Cruz Mountains. So we'll just leave it there. A change is going to come, and it'll start today. A mix of sun, some sun, but a lot of clouds. The wind picks up cooler. Any rain or drizzle should hold off until later this evening, if not tonight. Highs coming down. 60s, though, still a couple low 70s. All right, Sal's here. 880?
Yeah, it's not very good, Steve. We have a backup that is definitely big on 880 heading up to the 29th exit. That's where they have a crash that had 2 lanes blocked with the fire equipment and all that, northbound 880, and we're almost at a standstill here, and the backup is going to grow into San Leandro. The best thing for you to do is to use 580. 580 out of Castro Valley really isn't that bad, and if you're in Oakland, just go up instead of down. Go up the hill, use 580, don't use 880. It's still very good on 580 as an alternate route, and also Highway 13 are still pretty good. San Francisco, northbound 101, there's a grass fire or some sort of fire, northbound 101 near Cesar Chavez. I'm sure the firefighters at Company 9 are probably on the scene now. This is causing a big backup on 101 from the old Candlestick exit. Bay Bridge Toll Plaza, by the way, it looks like I went to the South Bay. That's a moderate. Bay Bridge Toll Plaza backed up to the Maze. 7:02, let's get back to the headlines.
All right, Sal, thank you. We're going to show you some live pictures from Capitol Hill in Washington, where later today, the House of Representatives will come back in session to vote on a funding bill to reopen the government. The House has been closed for almost 8 weeks. House Speaker Mike Johnson sent lawmakers home during the government shutdown as he waited for the U.S. Senate to pass its spending bill. Now, that Senate funding bill passed on Monday. It includes a year of funding for SNAP and other programs. The rest of the government would be funded through January 30th. It does not include the Affordable Care Act subsidies that Democrats were holding out for. Instead, the bill sets up a vote in mid-December on extending those subsidies. The House is set to vote on the funding bill approved by the Senate around 1 o'clock this afternoon. It would then go to President Trump's desk to get his signature.
Another unexpected impact from the longest government shutdown, a provision to criminalize hemp or THC products was put into the spending bill before senators approved it. The bill would criminalize hemp-derived THC products across the country. Right now, there's a loophole that allows those products to be sold nationwide, even if state law bans the sale of such products. Veterans groups regularly spoke in support of THC and hemp products as alternatives to other medications.
A large population that is looking for natural remedies that aren't pharmaceutical based. It's going to funnel a giant black market, which is going to hurt a lot of people.
THC products are a $28 billion a year industry. The ban could eliminate up to 80% of that revenue.
All right, Garcia, time 7:04. Now that the government's on the verge of reopening, the number of flight disruptions appear to be stabilizing nationwide. We're closely watching the situation at Bay Area airports during the FAA air traffic slowdown. These are live pictures from SFO. The FlightAware is reporting 45 flight cancellations, 27 flight delays. Oakland Airport reports 11 flight cancellations and 4 flight delays so far. In San Jose, there are 3 flight cancellations and 3 flight delays. Now, Transportation Secretary Sean Dunphy is warning the situation could get a lot worse if Congress doesn't approve the government funding bill. The FAA slowdown was supposed to reach 6% yesterday and then 10% on Friday. Dunphy says that flights may be restored if more air traffic controllers and TSA security guards show up for work, and safety is not an issue. We talked to some of the travelers at SFO who say, yes, they're worried, but they feel for the federal employees who are working with no pay.
Yeah, I'm concerned about being delayed out of Orlando tomorrow. I don't like reading about safety concerns with fewer air traffic controllers, but I understand the, plight.
Now, Duffy says he doesn't believe the federal shutdown will affect the coming Thanksgiving holiday, and he hopes to see fewer flight disruptions starting today.
San Mateo County leaders will pick the county's next sheriff today. It's the end of a nearly year-long saga that saw the former sheriff recalled. KTVU's James Torres has been on this from the very beginning. He's live in Redwood City here to first, James, explain how we got here and then what we can expect this morning.
Yeah, Garcia, we're expecting to talk to the president of the Board of Supervisors, David Canepa, in just a few minutes here, and he's told us in the past that it's almost a relief to finally be done with this nearly year-long saga of so much uncertainty when it comes to the leader of the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office. Well, the Board of Supervisors opted to appoint the next sheriff rather than hold a special election to fill in the remainder of the term of the ousted Sheriff Christina Corpus. They gave themselves today as the deadline to finally make that decision. It was nearly a year ago when the Cordell report originally came out, accusing the former sheriff of corruption and fostering a toxic workplace environment. That spurred a series of efforts that eventually removed her from office. It was just last week that we learned of the 3 finalists now listed for the job. They are Kenneth Binder, the interim chief of police in Gilroy. He's also a former undersheriff of Santa Clara County. David Lazar, a retired San Francisco police officer of more than 30 years. He served as a former assistant chief there. And finally, Brian Wynn Hewen Travis, the chief of police for the Solana Community College District. He's also a former sheriff's office deputy of 14 years. This week, county leaders led a forum vetting the candidates in front of the public eye. People who live in San Mateo County told the board they want a sheriff with integrity, strong leadership, and someone who will enforce sanctuary policies when it comes to immigration communities and federal enforcement. The Board of Supervisors will start a special meeting at 9 o'clock. Their sole item on the agenda is to announce the new sheriff. They will serve out the rest of Christina Corpus's term, which is set to expire in January 2029. We're live this morning in Redwood City. I'm James Torres, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Thank you, James. Today, we could also learn who's on the list of final candidates to be the next police chief in San Francisco. The San Francisco Police Commission is expected to hand the names over to the mayor today. This comes after multiple hearings and closed-door interviews in the past month. Mayor Daniel Lurie will then choose the next chief from the list of finalists. 34 people applied for the job. The current interim police chief, Paul Yep, is not one of them.
Our time now, 7:08. A man who was shot yesterday afternoon by police in Redwood City has died. The police rushed to a report of a man firing shots along Hazel Avenue near the historic Union Cemetery and then running away. The police, using a drone, tracked down the suspect, identified as 48-year-old Jose Ronaldo Lumbera. And as they approached him, they say the suspect pointed a gun at them. Investigators say the officers first fired less lethal ammunition at him, but eventually they shot the man, who later died at the hospital.
I was like scared, like what's happening, and I go to my home and close the door and close windows and everything.
Concerned, especially with how it was handled and all the children that was playing outside. I don't know how it could have escalated this fast.
Neighbors describe Lumbera as a longtime resident in the area who suffered from mental health problems and say he may have fired his gun into the ground before the police shot and killed him. No one else was hurt. The district attorney's office is leading the investigation.
The northern lights could be seen last night over the Bay Area. This is what the sky looked like over Novato as the auroras lit up the sky. They were even brighter in the farther northern parts of our state.
It's time for us to go back to that problem we've had on Interstate 880 that really has slowed traffic coming out of San Leandro now, heading up into Oakland because of that crash at 29th. The two left lanes blocked, 5 vehicles, Oakland Fire Department and medics on the scene. And boy, it's really made a mess. Now, some people are beginning to find out that 580 is the alternate, but really, it's still looking very good. 580 would be a good alternate route for you instead of using 880. It might be the longer way around, but much more satisfying, much less frustrating drive on 580 this morning. Or don't get on the freeway till after 29th if you are in Oakland. Just avoid that whole thing. Let's talk about San Francisco, northbound 101. We had a crash, or not a crash, I'm sorry, it was some sort of a fire. I believe it was a grass fire, but nevertheless, the fire department is on the scene and traffic is slow on northbound 101 as you pass the scene. If you're going to the Bay Bridge, that is backed up to the maze and the metering lights are on. I want to check with the South Bay now. You can see that the South Bay commute is going to be moderate. There are no problems, no real big issues here in that Silicon Valley commute. It's 7:10. Let's go back to the desk.
Muni riders in San Francisco were trapped on a wild ride after their driver appeared to fall asleep. We show you a new video from behind the wheel and inside that train.
A quick reminder, you can take Mornings on 2 with you wherever you go in the form of our Headlines on 2 podcast. You'll find the latest episode wherever you get your podcasts when you search KTVU.
Jacoby & Myers has been a proud part of the California community since 1972. We've stood by our neighbors, helping hundreds of thousands of families get the justice they deserve. Whether it's fighting insurance companies or fighting for you in court, we'll stand up for you. At Jacoby & Myers, we know the stakes: your family, your health, your future. For over 50 years, we've been California's trusted name in legal care. If you've been injured, call us today at 1-800-5-MILLION, because you deserve justice.
Welcome back to Mornings on 2. It's now 7:14. Here's some of the stories we're following today. The U.S. Supreme Court extended an order that blocks full SNAP payments to states. Now, the court didn't rule on lower court orders that required the White House to keep making full payments during the government shutdown. The Trump administration argued that money may be needed someplace else. The Supreme Court's order of an extension expires tomorrow night. But by then, the case could be over as food payments are expected to resume when the government reopens. Well, BART announced that rates for daily parking will go up by 40 cents at most stations beginning January 1st. At the high-demand BART stations like Glen Park, MacArthur, Rock Ridge, and Walnut Creek, prices will go up as much as 30%. BART also says rates will actually go down at 9 BART stations considered to be low demand. BART says the changes are because of inflation.
Now to wild video of an incident that some Muni riders feared could have ended in disaster. Newly surfaced images show a Muni light rail train careening through city streets as the operator appeared to be dozing off at the wheel. KTVU's Andre Sr. here in studio with what is truly, Andre, stunning video.
Yeah, in fact, the incident actually happened 7 weeks ago, but the video is now coming out due to a news media public records request. Take a look. Yeah, you hear terrified passengers there on board the Judah train were thrown against the side of the train. It was headed to downtown San Francisco through the Sunset Tunnel, going about 50 miles an hour. Passengers tried to hold on, but some knocked into each other while some people fell to the floor.
It's pretty terrifying, yeah. I guess you know that things like that can happen, but thankfully they're really rare.
Well, the operator, who Muni has not named, tried to calm passengers afterwards and explain what happened.
Sorry, it wouldn't stop. It wouldn't stop. I'm sorry. Relax, relax, relax. Stop. We didn't crash. Relax. Relax. It wouldn't stop. Relax. We're okay. It just wouldn't stop. It wouldn't stop. It would not stop. The emergency brake wouldn't even hit. Look, it's on. It wouldn't even stop. I don't know what happened.
Well, Muni says it completed a full inspection and examined the train and tracks and concluded it was a result of operator fatigue. Muni issued a statement saying, quote, the agency is addressing the matter in accordance with internal protocols and the relevant contract, which included placing the operator on non-driving status. Muni says it's working with the train manufacturer to put in more safety measures, such as installing software that limits the speed of trains at certain points of a route. Dave?
All right, Andre, what a story. All right, time is 7:17. Sal has a story to tell you about that huge traffic jam on Interstate 880.
Yes, northbound 880. That crash at 29th, they're working on getting it out of the way, but look at all that slow traffic. The damage is done when it comes to something like this because it's, you know, such a crucial spot of the commute for the morning. Now, if you want an alternate route, 580 is much better. In fact, 580 hasn't filled up like I thought it would. 580 is still a great alternate route instead of 880. Let's also talk about in San Francisco, northbound 101, there was some earlier trouble with some sort of fire that the fire department made quick work of, but it was near Cesar Chavez. Traffic is pretty slow there. And in the South Bay commute, we've had everything getting full. I almost forgot to show you the Bay Bridge. That is typical. It's backed up from the maze. At 7:18, what about today's weather? Here's Steve.
Cooler. That's today's weather. Sal, we're waiting on this system to arrive. There's already drizzle or light rain if you're well enough north, but the main activity doesn't really start until late tonight, more likely tomorrow. But we'll get a mix of some sun, a lot of high clouds, and there's low clouds as well. More of an onshore breeze, so it will be cooler today. 50s on the temps. I don't think they're changing all that much. Temperatures yesterday, still the 70s, but trending a little down, more so today and even more so tomorrow. But Napa, Emeryville, Burlingame, Santa Clara, 67, 66, 67, and 71 on Steve's forecast highs. Higher elevations have dropped considerably. At this time yesterday, Mount Veeder was close to 70 degrees. They're 49, southwest 22. Right above the Claremont there, 52, south at 13. Yesterday was east-northeast. and Boulder Creek 52, west-southwest 19. Yesterday they were north-northwest, so that's a big drop in the air aloft. So the inversion is breaking. And now again, the system is really far. I mean, we still have another day to go. Look at all this digging on the backside. That's a lot of cold air. The key with this, though, is the system will come in. Part of it will split north, the weaker branch. The main parent low will form, and then it looks like it's going to go down the coast and then hang out off of L.A. for all the way into Saturday. And if that's the case, it'll take a lot of moisture away from the Sierra. I think the Sierra is going to be more about wind than really snow, but we'll fine-tune that tomorrow. But for us, the wind will pick up. There's a wind advisory that starts. The high wind warning is on the coast. Parts of Santa Cruz, all of San Mateo, and San Francisco. Marin, Sonoma up to Marin, that's the high wind warning. So wet patterns on the way. It won't be until really later today, tonight, Thursday into Friday. I think Santa Cruz Mountains will probably get the brunt of this. I've seen some pockets of 4-inch totals over the next 84 hours in the Santa Cruz Mountains. But everything starts to kick in on Thursday and will continue. And it looks like another system late Sunday into Monday. There are some projections here. A few forecast models are painting some whopper totals, especially San Jose, Monterey, and Sacramento. That'd be, I mean, if Sacramento gets more rain than Santa Rosa, that's a rarity. But that's kind of the way it's looking here. It just depends on which one verifies. But change is going to come, starts today. Bigger fog bank, sun clouds, wind picks up, some drizzle to the north, but really rain starts this evening tonight. 60s, 70s on your temps.
Steve, thank you. 721, a new climate partnership with a South American nation. The agreement signed by Governor Newsom at a UN climate change conference and how he took aim at the Trump administration.
Also, a new warning from one of the top executives of Covered California. The push to get people to sign up early for health insurance.
Welcome back to Mornings on 2. A gorgeous look at downtown Oakland under gray clouds up above. We had a few sunny days, and that's all coming to an end. Some weather changes we can see and feel start today. Governor Newsom signed a new climate agreement with a Brazilian state. The agreement was reached at a United Nations climate change conference. The governor's office says the memorandum of understanding will strengthen cooperation on wildfire prevention and response. The governor touted California as a leader in fighting climate change and called out the Trump administration questioned for being absent from the summit.
The Trump administration has abandoned any sense of duty, responsibility, or leadership as it relates to the issues that bring us all here together. It's an abomination. It's a disgrace. But rather than complaining about it, we're trying to do something about it.
Governor Newsom argued the U.S. risks losing economic power due to what he called climate inaction.
Our time now 7:24. The executive director of Covered California is urging people sign up early for health insurance. Open enrollment started this week. It comes at a time of uncertainty as federal tax credits that lowered the cost of premiums for many people are scheduled to expire at the end of the year. If those credits expire, officials say the monthly cost could double for some people in the middle income brackets. But leaders with Covered California say enrollees still have some options.
We do also know most Covered California enrollees will still be eligible for tax credits. We do have some money from the state budget to mitigate some of these impacts, and many people also have more affordable choices than the plan they're enrolled in today.
Now, the government shutdown deal includes a promise of a vote in the Senate next month on extending those subsidies. But as of right now, there's no indication that any Republicans would vote in favor of it, which means it will probably not pass.
A presidential plea abroad, how President Trump is stepping in to help Benjamin Netanyahu as his corruption trial drags on. Plus,
normally, the beginning of the month, it's a smaller crowd because people are getting their funding.
Well, with SNAP benefits still on pause, food banks remain in high demand. We'll tell you how some Northern California organizations are managing to keep families fed. Good morning. After almost 7 weeks of being shut down, Washington lawmakers are getting closer to reopening the government. But at what cost? To tell you why some local leaders say the current deal that'll be voted on today goes too far. Plus,
you think about the additional interest you're paying over 50 years, it's completely not worth it.
Well, just imagine a mortgage that stretches for 50 years. There's expert analysis on the Trump administration's idea to deal with the nation's affordability crisis.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Well, good morning and welcome back to Mornings on 2. I'm Dave Clark.
I'm Garcia Michaelian. It is Wednesday, November 12th. We are walking into weather that is distinctly different from what we enjoyed for the first part of this week, Steve.
By far, we'll go from 80s to upper 50s and 60s by tomorrow. But today's the day when we get the transition to a cooler pattern. Low clouds, high clouds, and they'll continue to thicken up. A little bit of drizzle to the north already. Really, this system is slowing down a little bit, so it'll be more about tomorrow. But we'll get some activity later today. 50s on the temps. I don't think these are changing at all. This is a no-joke system here. The back end, though, you can see on the back end, that's going to slow this system down, but it will barrel through tomorrow, and there will be some maybe half-inch to three-quarter-inch rainfall rates. And hopefully it'll stay progressive because we don't want it to stall out. But this is going to hang around in California all the way into Saturday as the strong parent low forms and goes more towards Southern California, but we'll get our fair share. Cooler today, for sure, 60s. The wind will crank up here by this evening, then especially overnight into tomorrow. But I will admit there could be some localized, flooding here, some of the gutters tomorrow, and also the wind, especially on the San Mateo coast northward. Easily some 4-inch amounts could fall between now and, say, maybe Sunday night, Monday. I'm thinking Santa Cruz Mountains could get their fair share, but that's kind of the way it's looking here. There will be good rain for everyone here. It doesn't really start until tonight, and then tomorrow morning it'll be all about rain, and there could be some hefty totals here coming in after everything's said and done, especially the western slope of the Sierra, which will be more rain than snow. And it'll be a roaring wind event up in the mountains for us. Look at the amounts south. I mean, this could be a big deal from about Santa Cruz Mountains all the way down to L.A. by the time we get to Friday and Saturday. A change is going to come. Bigger fog bank, wind picks up, increasing clouds, cooler. Temperatures on their way down, 60s to low 70s. All right, Salas here. Is it still 880?
Yes, and other things too. 880 has two problems. We've had a couple of other things. So the commute is definitely not as good as yesterday when a lot of people had the time off. First of all, let's go to the Bay Bridge Toll Plaza, show you that is backed up as it typically is all the way up to the maze. Steve mentioned 880 northbound. That crash has been completely cleared off the freeway. No shoulder, anything like that. It's just gone, which is good, and things are going to start to unwind, but it's already slow out at San Leandro, as you can see, and we also, 580 is your alternate route here. We also had a crash northbound 880 near Tennyson. That had slow traffic coming up from Union City. Southbound 880 is slow from 238 on down the Fremont. And northbound 280 at Winchester, which is right near Highway 17, there's a crash. And that's why, where is my 280 camera? That's why 280 is going to be slow this morning as you head up to Highway 17. 7:32, let's get back to the headlines.
Sal, thank you. The House is expected to vote today on a bill to end the government shutdown.
And it comes after several Democratic senators broke away from their party to reach a deal with Republicans. KTVU's Ali Rasmus in our newsroom now to tell us the reaction from the Bay Area congressional delegation. Good morning, Ali.
Good morning, Dave and Garcia. Well, some of the members of that delegation used words like stunned to describe the way the shutdown is ending, some calling it a betrayal of their constituents. Democrats had pledged to hold out and keep the shutdown going until Republicans agreed to restore health insurance subsidies to millions of Americans by the end of this year. But after 42 days of the government shutdown, that fight came to an end after 7 Democratic senators and 1 independent made a deal with Republicans to end the shutdown. The deal would fund the government through January 30th, reverse more than 4,000 federal layoffs President Trump had threatened to make official during the shutdown, and it would fund the SNAP food assistance program through September of next year. Republican Senate leaders promised that Democrats could bring up the issue of health care subsidies for debate sometime in December, but that is far from a guarantee that those credits will be restored. And that means health care premiums for millions of Americans are expected to go up significantly in January.
Health access
is a basic right. And if a family was paying $350 for health insurance, and now that health insurance monthly bill is $1,200, that family will go without. They will disenroll. We've heard that time and time again, and people will die needlessly.
People are going to put off health care and end up in the emergency room, and we'll all pay for that.
But I'm not pleased that in the face of this invasive species that is Donald Trump, who's completely changed the rules of the game, that we're still playing by the old rules of the game. And in my core, I'm I'm stunned.
Governor Gavin Newsom weighing in on this issue at a climate conference in Brazil. The House is scheduled to meet at 1 o'clock our time today to vote on this deal. President Donald Trump says he will sign the bill once it reaches his desk, and that would officially end the government shutdown today. Back to you.
Allie, thank you. The lapse in SNAP benefits is increasingly burdening California food banks. One Yolo County organization says demand has tripled in the past 2 weeks, forcing organizers to scramble for every possible source of food. They've also added emergency food distributions to replace delayed CalFresh payments. Food banks in the Bay Area say they're seeing similar effects.
We've gone from 70 a day to 130 or 140 a day, and it's the beginning of the month. You know, normally the beginning of the month it's a smaller crowd because people are getting their funding.
We're going to have to go out again to the community and say, remember how we helped those that needed it? Well, now, because we went ahead and, spent all of the food that we had saved up for the spring, we're getting it out of our warehouse as fast as we can so that people have the food that they need.
The Supreme Court extended a pause in funding November SNAP benefits for another 2 days. The court said it's meant to give Congress time to reopen the government and fully fund the SNAP program on its own.
Our time now 7:36. A bakery in Oakland is the latest local business stepping in to help the community during the government shutdown and the cutbacks to SNAP benefits. Angel Cakes is a worker-owned co-op on 5th Street near Interstate 880. It launched a GoFundMe campaign. For every box of baked goods that are purchased or sponsored, the store will donate another.
If we can get the wider community involved to help sort of sponsor people, we could expand it to lots of different people who are, suffering financial losses this time of year.
Now, the bakery is returning the love the community gave the store back in 2023 when its owner, Jen Angel, was killed during a robbery. Many people made donations to the store. Some even offered to wash dishes to keep that bakery open.
The government shutdown has taken increasingly mental toll on the mental health toll of many Americans. A survey shows half of Americans say their personal finances are a major source of anxiety. Psychologists say not receiving a paycheck, getting furloughed, or losing SNAP benefits can lead to people suffering depression, a loss of control, and fear. Some people say they see the effects when they're out in public.
I've definitely noticed anxiety levels rising in general. Just hearing people sitting next to me at restaurants, talking about when their next paycheck is going to come in, the uncertainty that comes with that.
Psychologists say federal workers who've been going without a paycheck and people who haven't received their food assistance benefits are most likely feeling the most stress, but they add the public at large could be affected as well due to broader economic fears and conversations about instability.
Our time now 7:37. President Trump getting a lot of criticism for his latest idea to tackle the housing crisis. He's talking about creating a 50-year mortgage. And since the average first-time home buyer is now 33, that would mean buyers would be well into their 80s before their home is paid off. President Trump says it's just another tool to make home ownership more affordable. But home buyers and realtors say that's not realistic.
What it means is you pay less per month, you pay it over a longer period of time. It's not even a big deal. I mean, you go from 40 to 50 years.
Minor solution to a very major problem, particularly when you think about the additional interest you're paying over 50 years. It's completely not worth it.
Now, real estate experts say a 50-year mortgage could reduce your monthly payment and free up some cash in the short term, but it could cost buyers $1 million more in interest over the duration of the mortgage.
President Trump just sent a letter to the president of Israel asking him to pardon Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Netanyahu is in the middle of a corruption trial and is being charged with accepting bribes of about $200,000 from businessmen. He has denied all the charges and pleaded not guilty. President Trump also urged the Israeli president to pardon Netanyahu when he visited Israel in October.
Our time now, 7:39. Police in San Jose are searching for a person who broke into more than 100 cars. Investigators released this photo of a man they believe went through several apartment building garages in North San Jose during the night on Saturday, smashing windows, stealing valuables. People we talked to say they were surprised because they thought their parking area was secured.
Just woke up to a message from the group chat that we have with the community saying that there was about 39 cars broken into. Came down, found that my window was broken out.
The passenger side glass was broken. Yeah. And then, yeah, I think a few things was like open. The jeweler was open in the car, and then, but like I don't really have anything in my car, so nothing was stolen.
Now, if you recognize a suspect shown here, call San Jose police.
It's 7:40, and I want to start with 280 in San Jose because we had a crash on northbound 280 at 17. We also had something else going on northbound 280 at Bird on the shoulder that's slowing drivers. Nevertheless, we've had slow traffic on northbound 280, 85, 87, all the freeways. When one freeway gets crowded, people migrate to the other one. South Bay commute is not great right now in that Silicon Valley. 880 out of Union City heading north is slow because of an earlier wreck. And we also had traffic on 880 northbound getting up to Oakland, very slow. That's because there was a crash at 29th for a long time. It's finally gone. It's finally not on the shoulder. I mean, gone from the freeway. But it's still, you can see, it's still very slow. And let's talk about the Bay Bridge Toll Plaza that's backed up from the maze. Now at 7:41, let's talk about today's weather. Here's Steve.
Sal, we'll get to the wind. It'll crank up tonight. It's turned onshore, though, or southerly versus east-northeast yesterday. So that alone will, there's one observation in the city that's still a little east. It's almost the majority, though, are south. And the air aloft has cooled off a good 15, 20 degrees from yesterday. We'll go 65, 58 in the city, average 65, 51, way above on the lows. I mean, this whole month. That will change as we get towards the weekend and early next week. 80, the record high, 1990, 43, 2000, and the record rain, 2.05 for our producer, Hal. Producer Hal, 2.05, 2001, not that long ago on the record. Usually they go way back. That's not the case this time. Napa, Emeryville, Burlingame, and Santa Clara all cooling off from the 70s to 60s and low 70s. One more day, and then we'll see change. This system is going to produce a first wind. That'll kick in tonight, and then moderate to heavy rain. I think ponding issues tomorrow is a major concern. Also some heavy rainfall rates. There is going to be a roaring, what we call low-level jet. That's around 5,000 feet, which is going to funnel in some really deep moisture. Mount Tamalpais, Santa Cruz Mountains to some hefty totals. 50s on the temps here. The key, though, is the low is going to slow down, and then probably stay off the coast and eventually say, I'm on my way to Southern California. So therein lies the rub on why it's a challenging forecast. But drizzle, light rain today, then rain starts tomorrow morning. Hopefully it'll be picking up after all of us get into work. Right, Dave?
Yeah, right.
Thank you, sir. All right, and then heavier rain. There's another system on tap for Monday, Tuesday. That one might be better for us than the one tomorrow. But look at that total for San Jose and Monterey over the next week. That would be eye-popping to get that much. If there's that much in San Jose, Santa Cruz Mountains are getting 5. So we'll ease into it, but that's kind of the way it's looking. A change is going to come. Bigger fog banks, sun and clouds, wind picks up. There's already drizzle to the north, but really the main activity doesn't start until late tonight, tomorrow. 60s and 70s on your temps today.
Steve, thank you. There's a growing conversation about President Trump's pitch earlier this week to create a 50-year mortgage.
So, look, we want to hear from you about this. So let's go to Andre Sr. you have our viewer poll of the day.
Dave, Garcia, good morning to you both here. What we're asking this morning is, your options are, would you prefer a 50-year mortgage to help you buy a home? Yes, gets me in the market. I might consider it. Or no, absolutely not. 94% of you say no, absolutely not right now. So go to KTVU.com/vote. Let us know what you think about our question of the day. 50-year mortgage.
It's a lot of interest.
Mm-hmm.
A whole lot of interest.
Yeah.
But it's a smaller monthly payment.
A
So I
smaller
think
monthly
that's what
payment,
people are
yeah.
looking.
But I heard an economist mention it depends on the interest rates at the time.
That's true. That's true. They're like in low sixes right now.
Right now. Right.
Yeah.
All right, as we go to break, take one more look at the poll and make sure you scan that QR code in the top right-hand corner of your screen. It'll take you to our poll.
.746, some of the stories we're following this morning. San Mateo County supervisors are expected to name a new sheriff today. The list of candidates is now down to 3. One will replace Christina Corpus, who was removed from office last month. The new sheriff will serve until January of 2029.
Well, the Justice Department plans to investigate how UC Berkeley handled protests on Monday outside of an event by Turning Point USA on the campus. 2 people were arrested for misdemeanors after 2 fights broke out. Another man reported being hit in the head with a glass bottle and was taken to the hospital. The university says it will cooperate with federal investigations.
Newly surfaced video shows a Muni Light rail train careening through San Francisco streets as the operator appears to be nodding off at the controls. Muni says operator fatigue led to the incident on September 24th. Video shows the Anjuda train coming out of the Sunset Tunnel going 50 miles an hour, jostling passengers. Muni says it placed the operator on non-driving status and is working with the train manufacturer to put more safety measures in place. Well, the Bay Area's other well-known AI chip maker is the talk of Wall Street this morning.
And Pam Cook is back in the studio with dollars and cents. Pam.
We usually talk about NVIDIA.
Yeah.
Today we're talking about AMD, which actually we knew of them long before NVIDIA, but shares in AMD up about $20 a share after the CEO said she expects revenue to grow 35% per year over the next 3 to 5 years, driven by, quote, an insatiable demand for AI chips. As the opening bell rang this morning, another San Francisco company, Anthropic, announced plans to invest $50 billion on AI infrastructure, starting with custom data centers in Texas and New York. That project is expected to create 800 permanent jobs and at least 2,000 construction jobs. And by the way, that is Delta Airlines ringing the opening bell this morning to celebrate their 100th anniversary of its founding. Taking a live look at the numbers, the bank stocks are actually helping take the Dow Jones up to a new 52-week high. No real reason why the bank stocks are up. Earnings and that not really coming in right now, but the Dow Jones up about 400 points. The S&P 500 and the NASDAQ down a little bit today. A new survey shows money is the main concern for many Americans. A Harris poll finds 55% of Americans are worried about losing their job. Nearly 2/3 of those surveyed also said their cost of living is up, and almost half say they may not be able to afford the increase. Last month set a record for the most layoffs in October in more than 20 years. Political analysts say economic concerns fueled last week's victories by Democrats in New York, New Jersey, and Virginia. Chevron's getting into the AI game. Chevron is looking to help use natural gas to power AI data centers as the rise of AI is causing a huge jump in demand for those centers. It's a move to help Chevron boost profits as renewable energy efforts impact the oil industry. Chevron's first data center will be built in West Texas. And changes may be coming to the cryptocurrency industry. A draft bill was released by a Senate committee to create a comprehensive framework for the crypto market structure. Lawmakers say the change would make the market safer for the average investor to buy and sell crypto.
Crypto is an incredibly important opportunity for America's future. If we don't lead on crypto, other countries will fill that void.
The draft bill would give the Commodity Futures Trading Commission the power to regulate digital assets, including Bitcoin. That would shift crypto oversight away from the Securities and Exchange Commission. I'm Pam Cook. That's a look at your dollars and cents.
All right, Pam, we have to go right back to the traffic. It's not a great morning, especially considering what we had yesterday. First of all, the Bay Bridge is backed up as it normally is all the way out past the maze, and the metering lights are on. We haven't looked at the San Mateo Bridge much, and that's because we haven't had any reason to. It's slow, but there's nothing unusual going on that San Mateo Bridge. I do want to mention that 880 is recovering after an earlier crash at 29th. Now 580 is slower. I think a lot of people eventually found out about that. 580 is slow out of San Leandro, and it's also slow in Oakland. People are avoiding 880. 7:51. Let's go back to the weather with Steve.
Sal, today's our transition day to a cooler day after 80s and 70s for what, 4 days there, weekend, and then a Monday and Tuesday, not today. A lot of low clouds in place, onshore breeze in place, some drizzle to the north already, 50s on the temps, but high temps will be coming down. Now, a south-southeast breeze can certainly be a mild one in the Santa Clara Valley or on the peninsula, but there's a lot of cloud cover on the way, but we'll get a mix of low clouds, high clouds, and some morning sun, but our system is on the way, but not until tomorrow. Napa, Emeryville, Burlingame, Santa Clara, all cooling down today, 67, 66, 67, and 71 degrees. Wind will be a factor tonight, especially on the San Mateo coast in San Francisco, the Marin Coast, and all up to Mendocino. That's a high wind warning, wind advisory elsewhere. That takes us into tomorrow morning. There could be some isolated 4 to 5 inch amounts, especially coastal hills. I'll mention it for around Russian River, Mount Tamalpais, and for sure the Santa Cruz Mountains is the way it's looking. I'm going around 4 for the Santa Cruz Mountains after everything's said and done. Not much happens today except light rain or drizzle to the north. Then tonight, here we go, we'll start to kick it in tomorrow morning, but really doesn't get going till after about 6 o'clock, and then there will be some big-time totals here, some ponding of water, maybe some localized flooding issues with some rapid rainfall rates here of a half inch to maybe an inch per hour. more. But the totals going into next Tuesday, Wednesday are really eye-popping, especially San Jose South. I mean, that would be impressive. Sacramento as well. A change is going to come, and it's starting today. It'll be cooler, bigger fog banks, sun clouds, wind picks up. Most everything, though, it doesn't start until late tonight, tomorrow, unless you get on your north. 60s, low 70s, Dave.
All right, Steve, thank you. Time now 7:53. A high school soccer team in the North Bay remembering the life of a former player who recently died from cancer. The emotional tribute honoring the life and legacy of Mia Hammond. And with SNAP funding on hold, the financial strain is also hitting grocery stores. Up next at 8, we hear from small business owners struggling to stay open without those CalFresh card sales. Welcome back to Mornings on 2. Time now 7:56. Several businesses in downtown Walnut Creek were hit by vandalism and burglaries. Boarded up windows are now lining Bonanza and Locust Streets, where at least 5 businesses, from restaurants to salons, were hit on Thursday. Surveillance video captured by nearby businesses shows 5 men in 2 different vehicles committing the burglaries. The owner of one business that was not victimized is still frustrated.
They're going to run through town, stealing change. They didn't really get much of anything, running, breaking into all these restaurants, the restaurants and salons and stuff, but it's thousands of dollars of damage for these guys where they did break the windows.
Now, KTVU reached out to Walnut Creek Police to try to get more information, and we're still waiting to hear back from them. The friends and former teammates of a Marin County soccer star who died are carrying on her legacy. 21-year-old Mia Hammond grew up in Corte Madera, attended Redwood High School in Larkspur, and starred at the Marin Football Club before going to the University of Washington. She became one of the nation's best goalkeepers, but she died last week from a rare form of kidney cancer. After first being diagnosed with cancer back in April, she decided to share her story on social media, hoping to inspire others.
The fact that she was that open and willing to share her story guaranteed impacted thousands of people for life, and I think that's the greatest gift that she gave. I was a goalkeeper as well, so I think what stuck out is she had this amazing athletic ability, and being tall, she had this presence you can't really teach. And probably like me too, she kind of wore her emotions on her sleeve, so you knew what you were getting, but I loved it.
We just thought about her and what she would want for us, and we knew that she would want us to be happy and to celebrate her life more than mourn it.
Now, last Sunday, her University of Washington team won the school's first women's soccer Big Ten Conference championship. The players say they could feel her presence. Redwood High and the Marin Football Club will honor Mia Hamed by naming an award in her honor. Well, one of the oldest steam trains in the Bay Area honored military veterans on Veterans Day by giving them a chance to ride for free. Now, the Billy Jones Wildcat Railroad in Los Gatos is 120 years old, dating back to the 1940s. The founder originally found the train in a pile of scrap metal in San Francisco and paid $101 for it. The rail run is mainly run by volunteers, many of whom are veterans.
I want to thank everyone for their service, and I'm a little biased being a veteran myself. For me, this railroad was always my happy place, kind of growing up as a kid.
Now, the railroad's in the process of setting up for its holiday decor, preparation for the annual holiday train tours. They're set to begin December 11th through the 28th.
Well, new this morning, House Democrats unveil emails from Jeffrey Epstein, the alleged link to President Trump, what's inside those emails, and the questions Democrats are raising about the president's relationship with the late sex offender. Plus,
the people that should be here buying the product, they're not buying the product, so they're going without the product.
Small grocers who rely on SNAP purchases are taking a financial hit amid the government shutdown. How the sudden drop in food stamp purchases is threatening their survival. And after months of controversy, a final decision expected today on who will be named the next sheriff of San Mateo County. We're live in Redwood City as leaders there make their pick then.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Welcome to Mornings on 2 at 8 o'clock. Still live across the Oakland estuary. We're heading into a period of unsettled weather. We're going to find out what that means in a moment. But first, thanks for joining us. I'm Andre Senior.
I'm Gassia Michaeli, and it's a busy Wednesday, November 12th. Weather is part of that because things are changing. Steve Paulson, I think it was back in the 5 o'clock hour, you said tomorrow morning will look and feel a lot different.
Wind and rain will be the changes. That's what we mean by unsettled there. It's coming in. Now, not so much today. It's picking up. But, yes, big change here by tomorrow. Now, today's kind of that tweener day. We get cooler, mix of sun clouds. The breeze will pick up. I mean, it's just an onshore breeze, so it'll be noticeably cooler. 50s on the temps here, and under cloudy to mostly cloudy skies. Our system is still developing on the backside there. It has a ways to go, but it's going to funnel in a lot of moisture, really enhance rainfall rates, and also bring in, I think, some moderate to heavy rain here, but everyone's cooling off today. Napa, Emeryville, Burlingame, Santa Clara. But the wind will be a factor tonight. That's all starts tonight. High wind warning on the coast and in San Francisco with a wind advisory elsewhere. So get ready. There could be some 4 to 5 inch amounts localized, some of the higher elevations, but rain and wind are on the way. It'll kick in late tonight, more likely, though, tomorrow morning. All righty. Sal is here. I think it's 8:80 unless something has changed.
Well, something has changed for the good. However, we still have a lot of slow traffic. I want to go from north to south, and we're going to get to 880, but the Richmond Bridge does have some slow traffic, and then the Bay Bridge also does too. Steve mentioned the 880, and we're going to show it in a second. I want to show the San Mateo Bridge. Now, 880 had a crash at 29th, and they not only did they clear it, they cleared it off the freeway. The even better news is the injuries were not major, or minor injuries. However, it really did a number on the commute. So 580 now is absolutely jammed. A lot of people heard about what was going on 880, and 580 out of Castro Valley through San Leandro and into Oakland is very slow. It took a while, but it got there. 8:02, let's get back to the headlines.
Sal, thank you. New this morning, congressional Democrats released emails written by convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein about Donald Trump. The emails by Epstein were written in 2011, 2015, and 2019. They mentioned Mr. Trump numerous times. In one email, Epstein says he knew about the girls. In another, it says Mr. Trump spent significant time with a woman who was later identified as one of Epstein's young sex trafficking victims. Democrats obtained the emails after they subpoenaed Epstein's estate earlier this year. So far, neither the president nor the White House has commented. Here at home and happening today, San Mateo County leaders will pick their next sheriff.
It's the end of a nearly year-long saga where the fate of the office has constantly been in question. KTVU's James Torres has been following the story since the beginning and is live in Redwood City with how we got here and what we can expect this morning. James?
Yeah, the final selection process, that'll get kicked off in about an hour from now, and it will finally put an end to a nearly year-long process that has really been pretty unsettled in the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office. County supervisors opted to appoint their next sheriff rather than hold a special election, and that new sheriff will serve the rest of the term of the ousted Christina Corpus. They gave themselves today as the deadline to name that new leader. It was nearly a year ago when the Cordell report came out accusing the former sheriff of corruption and fostering a toxic workplace environment, and that spurred a series of efforts to remove her from office. Then it was just last week when we learned of the three finalists now listed for the job. They are Kenneth Bender, who is the interim chief of police in Gilroy and former undersheriff of Santa Clara County; David Lazar, a retired San Francisco police officer of 33 years. He also served as a former assistant chief; and Brian Wynn Hewen Travis, the chief of police for the Solano Community College District and a former sheriff's office deputy of 14 years. The Board of Supervisors president says one of his first priorities in picking this next leader is looking at the department budget.
The budget right now of the Sheriff's Department is really in bad shape. Two, I think, how is this sheriff going to be able to connect with community, right? We talk about the farm workers, we talk about North Fair Oaks, we have an expansive county. How is the sheriff going to be able to work with the cities? We have 20 cities.
This week, county leaders led a forum vetting the candidates in front of the public eye. People who live in San Mateo County told the board they want a sheriff with integrity, strong leadership, and someone who will enforce sanctuary city policies when it comes to federal immigration enforcement. The Sheriff's Deputy Association, the union representing Sheriff's Office employees, says it will not endorse any candidate, not because of their qualifications, but they say because of the tight deadline imposed by the board. The Board of Supervisors will start their special meeting at 9 o'clock this morning. Their sole item on the agenda is to select this new sheriff. They'll have another round of questions for these three candidates, and then they will hold a vote. The Board of Supervisors President David Canepa tells me that he wants that to be done by about 12 o'clock noon today, and then that sheriff is set to serve the rest of the term that was left behind by Christina Corpus, which ends in January 2029. We're live this morning in Redwood City. I'm James Torres, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
James, thank you. It's 8:05 now. A live look at Capitol Hill in Washington, where later today the House of Representatives will go back in session. Lawmakers could vote on funding, that funding bill that was passed by the Senate around 1 o'clock this afternoon. It will then head to President Trump's desk for signature. But one challenge ahead for Speaker Mike Johnson. Republicans currently hold a slim majority there. That Senate funding bill passed through the chamber on Monday. It includes a year of funding for SNAP and other programs. The rest of the government would be funded through January 30th. It does not include the Affordable Care Act subsidies, for which Democrats were holding out. Instead, the bill sets up a vote in mid-December on extending those subsidies.
The U.S. Supreme Court extended an order blocking full SNAP payments. The court did not rule on lower court orders that required the White House to keep the full payments flowing during the shutdown. The Trump administration claimed the money might be needed elsewhere. The Supreme Court's order expires tomorrow night. By then, the case could be over, as SNAP payments are expected to resume when the government reopens. Meanwhile, some small business owners say they're feeling the pain from cuts to federal food assistance. Without SNAP funds, many people have had to go to food banks instead of their local grocers, which is starting to impact sales for some grocery stores as a result.
There's a ripple effect to all this, right? So our sales are obviously 8 to 10% down from last month. They're going down, and we see that line threshold. Again, we're hoping it balances out going forward and they work things out.
Sales not being there, you know, affects everybody's wages, affects everybody's hours, and let's face the facts too. The people that should be here buying the product, they're not buying the product, so they're going without the product. They're going without meals.
Economists warn grocers and convenience stores nationwide could see a bigger impact if SNAP payments continue to see a delay.
Time is 8:07, and right now we do see that traffic is going to be slow in the East Bay because of earlier issues. We had a crash on 880. And that was there for a while. It's completely gone from the freeway and things are improving. However, a lot of people heard about it and they started taking 580. And now 580 is a lot slower than you might expect. I mean, let's say you don't even use 880 on a daily basis. You're on 580. Well, today it's going to be slower for you because of what happened. I want to show you the picture here at the Coliseum. It's getting a little better, but it's still not great. As they say, not great, Bob, right there, driving up. San Mateo Bridge is moderate. Bay Bridge is backed up to the Maze. 808. Let's go back to the desk.
Well, next, we'll be joined live by political analysts to break down the potential high-stakes vote in the House today to reopen the government.
Why a massive construction project at the state capitol is causing concern, in part because of information that's not being released.
Jacoby & Myers has been a proud part of the California community since 1972. We've stood by our neighbors, helping hundreds of thousands of families get the justice they deserve. Whether it's fighting insurance companies or fighting for you in court, we'll stand up for you. At Jacoby & Myers, we know the stakes, your family, your health, your future. For over 50 years, we've been California's trusted name in legal care. If you've been injured, call us today at 1-800-5-MILLION, because you deserve justice.
Well, it's day 42 of the government shutdown, which could end today. As we mentioned earlier this hour, the House is expected to vote this afternoon on a funding bill. We're joined by Todd Belt, Director of Political Management at the George Washington University. Todd, thank you for joining us this morning.
Great to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
All right, so how optimistic are you about the vote in the House a little later on today, considering the slim majority by Republicans in the House?
I think it's going to sail through. I don't think we're going to see too many people vote against it. Thomas Massie is someone who has been sort of a thorn in the side of the administration and has always voted against these continuing resolutions. He might vote against it. The Republicans can lose too, so if they hold them all together, then maybe they'll be there. We know Marjorie Taylor Greene has been a bit of a outspoken on this issue as well. And there might be a few Democrats who come over to try to give some cover to Chuck Schumer and the Democrats who are taking a lot of flack for this compromise.
Well, that's why I wonder if there could be kind of a fix on this side once the bill goes before the House. Maybe Democrats are going to come back and continue the fight since Schumer is catching so much flack on the Senate side for having these 8 Democrats back the bill on the Senate side before it moved over to the House.
Right, that's what we're hearing from these 8 Democrats is they want to continue the fight in January. These continuing resolutions will go through the 30th of January. There are 3 other what we call minibus bills that will fund other government agencies, but there's another 9 that have to be passed. So they're saying we can continue this fight in January, but if you were only going to go for 43 days or so, shutting down the government, why wouldn't you do it now? I think a lot of people would say. We are hearing from the Republicans in the House, though, that if they are going to take up that up-down vote on the Affordable Care Act enhanced subsidies, they want to put in some other provisions that would make it more difficult to obtain abortions. And this is starting to rattle some of the nerves of the Democrats who are voting on this.
Will they have really a choice to go against something like this when that does happen, if that does happen? I think mid-December was a timeline that was proposed possibly for this.
Look, mid-December is when the deadline's going to be for at least the Senate vote. We haven't seen that Speaker Johnson is committed to it yet, but there can also be a discharge petition to get it out. But the Republicans are kind of setting themselves up for something really bad. It would have made a lot of sense for the Republicans to take that one-year deal to fund those ACA provisions, but now their constituents, 3 or 4 constituents who receive those subsidies are in red states. So it would make sense to kick this past the election. Now they're going to have to vote against those subsidies and go back to their constituents and try to explain to them why their health care costs twice as much. This is just, it writes itself. The Grinches that stole health care. The Democrats have really backed them into a corner.
And health care is really at the centerpiece of all of this. But I should ask about some of the things that are also in this funding bill that was passed. And even some Republicans raised concerns. Chip Roy of Texas about a provision in there that allows Republicans to let senators sue over having their cell phone records collected regarding the 2022 investigation into the Jack Smith investigation into the Capitol riot. That's just one thing that was in this funding bill as well, right?
It is, and this seems really strange because you generally don't see the Congress getting involved in the types of decisions that are made by the Justice Department. That's a strange one. But of course, there's also other provisions in there continuing, making sure that people who were furloughed get funded and that people who were laid off during the shutdown are rehired.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. That vote is just a few hours away, at least the first round of it, at least. Todd Bell, Director of Political Management at the George Washington University, thank you for your insight this morning.
Thanks for having me on. Great to be with you.
8:16 other stories we're following. Muni says operator fatigue led to a driver dozing off as a train sped through San Francisco. This happened September 24th. Video shows the Judah train coming out of the Sunset Tunnel going 50 miles an hour, jostling passengers on the train. Muni says it placed the operator on non-driving status and is working with the train manufacturer to put more safety measures in place.
BART announced that rates for daily parking are going up by 40 cents at most stations starting January 1st. At high-demand stations like Glen Park, MacArthur, Rockridge, and Walnut Creek, prices will go up by as much as 30%. BART also says rates will actually go down at 9 stations considered to be in low demand. BART says the changes are being made because of inflation.
Questions are being raised about a controversial tax-funded project at the state capitol. The California Capitol Annex project replaces the old state building with a new modern office building and parking garage for the governor, lawmakers, and state workers. Voters approved the measure back in 2017. Original costs were projected to be about $500 million, but the project's been plagued by cost overruns and delays. There's not been any official public update since 2019. Governor Newsom called for more transparency just 2 weeks ago, but since then, there's still no word on exactly how much the project is costing taxpayers.
If the legislature is going to put a pot of money into the state budget, clearly that should be publicly disclosable.
We need to know a full accounting of the project.
A group of Assembly members sent a letter to the governor's office this week asking him to direct the state agencies involved in the project to provide key cost and analysis to the public.
It is 8:17, and boy, we've had a pretty busy commute on this Wednesday, the 12th of November, right after we had a very light November 11th commute because of Veterans Day. It is jam-packed almost everywhere, including here. And on the San Mateo Bridge, Dumbarton Bridge has been slow. 880, because of earlier problems, has been very slow. And people have heard about 580. At one point, I was recommending 580 as an alternative. I'm not really doing that anymore. I think both of them are very slow. Let's talk about some of the other commutes around the Bay Area. 880 south is slow from about 92 all the way to Fremont. And then the South Bay's filled in. We had an earlier crash there. So we've had a lot of slow traffic. It hasn't been a great Wednesday, honestly, on the commute anyway. 818. It's a great Wednesday for you and me.
What do you mean by that, son?
It's good for us.
Yeah, exactly.
We're here.
Thank you, sir. I understand. All right, cooler today after, 3 days of 70s and 80s? Yeah, 3 to 4. Went into the weekend and Monday, Tuesday. Not today, though. Onshore breezes kicked in, low clouds, high clouds, some sun mixed in, but it's a mostly cloudy morning. There's been some drizzle north up near Cazadero, and that will pick up throughout the day into this afternoon, this evening. This is a really complex system, but it all spells rain. It's going to take a while to get here. May even slow down a bit and not arrive until Thursday morning. Now, there will be warm overrunning rain in advance of it, especially to the north. But it's cooler today. But you do get kind of a break before tomorrow. You might want to just batten down. This is kind of the way it looks here. Red sky in the morning. Sailors take warning. Not today, but for sure tomorrow. Napa, Emeryville, Burlingame, and Santa Clara cooling off here. High wind warning is out for a teeny bit of the Santa Cruz coast. Most of it San Mateo, in San Francisco, Marin, Sonoma, up to Mendocino, and a wind advisory elsewhere. We'll get a lot of rain, more likely Thursday, Friday, and again Monday night, Tuesday. Don't want to overlook that. There's another system coming in that'll give some rain totals that could easily exceed 4 to maybe 5 inches in the next 6 days or so. Not much is happening tonight. Light rain, drizzle, but more so tomorrow morning. Maybe even by 6, not too bad, but boy, things really crank up as we go out the day Thursday into early Friday. The upper low, though, is going to go right near us, then go down the coast, and eventually end up in Southern California by Saturday. I think the Sierra is more about wind than it really is snow, and some of the heavier projections favor Mammoth more so than, say, Tahoe. So we'll fine-tune that tomorrow. But if San Jose gets that much over the next week, I mean, we'll just say, you're a winner, San Jose. But you already are, but you'd be a big-time rain winner if that verified. A change is going to come, and it's on its way. Bigger fog bank, wind picks up, increasing clouds, cooler, 60s, 70s, rain off and on into Friday. We'll get a break Saturday, next system, Sunday night, Monday.
Bonnie, there's a package for you. Bonnie and friends facing their greatest threat yet. The first look at the upcoming Toy Story 5 and why the plot is something that'll ring true for many modern parents.
It's closer to winter than summer, but we're already thinking about next year's Zip Trip, and this year we're doing something different. Instead of us picking the cities, we want to hear from you. Tell us why your hometown should be our next Zip Trip destination. Just scan the QR code and record a video or send a few photos telling us all about your city, and we could choose it for next year's Zip Trip lineup. We'll be right back. 824 now, a San Francisco company announced an investment in AI that will reportedly create jobs.
Sam Cook back in studio with this in today's Dollars and Cents.
Yes, they're talking about Anthropic, based in San Francisco. They announced plans to invest $50 billion on AI infrastructure, starting with custom data centers in Texas and New York. That project is expected to create 800 permanent jobs and at least 2,000 construction jobs. As the opening bell rang this morning, AMD, another Bay Area company, that stock shot up about $20 a share. That's after the CEO said she expects revenue to grow 35% per year over the next 3 to 5 years, driven by, quote, an insatiable demand for AI chips. By the way, that's Delta Airlines ringing the opening bell this morning to celebrate their 100th anniversary of its founding. Taking a live look at the numbers, it's remained a mixed picture since that opening bell rang. The Dow Jones getting help with the bank stocks. The bank stocks are rallying today, up more than 300 points there. The S&P 500 and the NASDAQ both down. Despite that good news coming in from AMD, the NASDAQ is down about a little more than 0.5%. A new survey shows money is the main concern for many Americans. A Harris poll finds 55% of Americans are worried about losing their jobs. Last month, that set a record for the most layoffs in October in more than 20 years. That included some big companies like Amazon and Target cutting workers. Nearly 2/3 of those surveyed also said their cost of living is up, and almost half say they may not be able to afford that increase. Political analysts say economic concerns fueled last week's victories by Democrats in New York, New Jersey, and Virginia. A San Francisco-based startup launching a new product that is designed to give people a new perspective of their surroundings. World Labs has titled its product Marble. It allows users to turn text prompts, photos, videos, even panoramas into three-dimensional environments that can be edited and downloaded. The tech site TechCrunch reports a preview came out 2 months ago. Supporters say it opens up so many opportunities because world models are systems using artificial intelligence to generate different environments and can help predict future outcomes, and it raises the level of virtual reality.
Hi there, I'm Lilypad. Let's play.
The trailer for Disney and Pixar's Toy Story 5 is out. The plot revolves around longtime favorite toy Woody navigating a toy they've never seen before, a frog-shaped tablet named Lilypad. The movie will hit theaters June 19th, which marks more than 30 years since that very first Toy Story debut. I'm Pam Cook. That's Look at Your Dollars and Cents.
Pam, thank you. A presidential plea abroad, how President Trump is stepping in to help Benjamin Netanyahu as his corruption trial drags on.
Normally, the beginning of the month, it's a smaller crowd because people are getting their funding.
With SNAP benefits still on pause, food banks remain in high demand. How some Northern California organizations are managing to keep families fed.
Nearly 7 weeks into the longest government shutdown in history, there could be a major move to reopen Washington. While some local leaders say the current deal goes too far. Plus,
think about the additional interest you're paying over 50 years. It's completely not worth it.
a short-term benefit meant to get more people into the housing market could have long-ranging effects that could last a lifetime. A deeper look at President Trump's idea to add a new mortgage option.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Good morning and welcome back. I'm Gassia Mikaelian.
I'm Andre Sr. It's Wednesday, November 12th, and you can tell behind us right now it is cloudy outside, and it's not going to get much better than this, I don't think. Steve Paulson's here to tell us more of that.
Not too much. Not too much. We're in a cooler pattern now, and tomorrow will be about rain and wind. Today, though, is favoring a lot of cloud cover, maybe some breaks, but it's already drizzled north. This is really a ways away. I mean, I don't think anything's really kicking in. The real rain will be tomorrow, but there's already some light to the north. 50s on the temps here. The city made it to 58, and that's it. That's 8 above average for this time of year. They've had warm lows, no doubt. Heavy rain possible North Bay, Santa Cruz Mountains especially. Windy, cooler. Some snow in the Sierra, but I'm beginning to think it's going to be more rain and wind than really snow, but we will deal with it tomorrow. The system still has a ways to go. It's still developing. See, when they do this, it's still digging south. That means the strongest winds are on the back side of the trough. It's still digging. We need that to turn this way before it starts to move, and that's not happening yet. So I would not be surprised if this is delayed a little bit. High wind warning is out as this system gets closer. That's for the coast, and it's a wind advisory for inland areas. That goes until tomorrow morning. There will eventually be some whopper totals here over the next 5 to 7 days. It could favor areas south more than north, but everyone should get in on some pretty good rain here between now and, say, next Monday, Tuesday. A change is going to come, and it's a bigger fog bank, some sun, a lot of clouds. The wind picks up cooler today. Temperatures 60s, and this will be it for the 70s. I mean, we will see 50s and 60s next couple of days. All right, Sal's here. It's been busy. Better now or something new?
I wouldn't call it a wonderful world, but it's better. That's for sure. On 80 westbound, there's still some slow traffic. There's a stalled vehicle right near the Albany Hill, and traffic is slow. Then you go to the Bay Bridge, it's backed up to the Maze. The San Mateo Bridge is slow. Almost everywhere is slow. You know that 880 has had an issue from earlier problems, and 580 is not a good alternate. It is jam-packed. And, oh, by the way, if you're driving in Daly City, northbound 280 starts to slow right at John Daly, and the getting into San Francisco this morning is tough. 8:32, let's go back to the desk.
Sal, thank you. The House is expected to vote today on a bill to end the government shutdown.
It comes after several Democratic senators broke with their party to reach a deal with Republicans. KTVU's Allie Rasmus in the newsroom with the response from the Bay Area's congressional delegation. Allie?
Well, Andre and Gassia, Democrats had pledged to hold out and keep this shutdown going until Republicans agreed to restore health insurance subsidies for millions of Americans in order to prevent premiums from skyrocketing in January. But after nearly 7 weeks of a government shutdown stalemate, that fight came to an end. 7 Democratic senators and 1 independent made a deal with Republicans to reopen the government without a solid agreement on health care. Now, that deal would fund the government through January 30th, reverse more than 4,000 federal layoffs President Trump had threatened during the shutdown, guaranteed that furloughed workers would receive back pay, and would fund the SNAP food assistance program through September of next year. Republican Senate Leader John Thune promised that Democrats could bring up the issue of health care subsidies for debate sometime in December, but that's far from a guarantee those credits will be restored. This morning, South Bay Congressman Sam Liccardo took questions from constituents in a live interview on C-SPAN, and he said the deal those 7 Democratic senators made comes up short and was skeptical that Republicans would honor the promise of a later vote on health care.
I think we gave up the leverage to do just that 2 days ago. We're going to find out in 81 days whether or not there's any real willingness of the Republican leadership to actually engage on this issue. Certainly haven't seen it from House leadership. There's some indication there might be something in the Senate, but as we know, it takes 2 to tango in Congress.
The vote that is coming back to the House of Representatives is a betrayal to the 10,000 federal workers in my district, is a betrayal to the 240,000 folks who are Medicaid and Medicare eligible in my district. I refuse to vote yes on any spending package that will take away health care from 17 million Americans.
But I'm not pleased that in the face of this invasive species that is Donald Trump, who's completely changed the rules of the game, that we're still playing by the old rules of the game. And in my core, I'm I'm stunned.
Governor Gavin Newsom weighed in on the issue at a climate conference in Brazil. The House is scheduled to meet at 1 o'clock our time today to vote on this. President Donald Trump says he will sign the bill once it reaches his desk, and that would officially end the government shutdown. Back to you.
Ellie, thank you. The lapse in SNAP benefits is increasingly burdening California food banks. One Yolo County organization says demand has tripled in the past 2 weeks, forcing organizers to scramble for every possible source of food. They've also added emergency food distributions to replace delayed CalFresh payments. Food banks in the Bay Area say they're seeing similar effects.
Gone from 70 a day to 130 or 140 a day, and it's the beginning of the month. You know, normally the beginning of the month it's a smaller crowd because people are getting their funding.
We're going to have to go out again to the community and say, remember how we helped those that needed it? Well, now, because we went ahead and, spent all of the food that we had saved up for the spring, we're getting it out of our warehouse as fast as we can so that people have the food that they need.
The Supreme Court extended a pause in funding November SNAP benefits for another 2 days. The court said it's meant to give Congress time to reopen the government and fully fund the SNAP program on its own.
The government shutdown is causing increased anxiety among those who are most directly affected, missing paychecks or wondering about their federal food assistance. But mental health experts say there is a more widespread effect that can affect anybody. We welcome Genevieve Graff, an associate professor at the University of Texas at Arlington, whose work focuses on mental health and social work. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Of course, what effects are expected or are you seeing when it comes to financial instability?
Well, there's extensive research that establishes links between financial stress and poor mental health for both adults and for children living in households that are experiencing financial stress. And I think that overall, population-wide, similar to what we saw in the pandemic, when there are stressors that affect our entire country, we see folks across the country experiencing the mental health impacts of that. So these are valid concerns to worry about mental health in the context of these government shutdown impacts.
A recent Harris poll found 55% of Americans say they're worried about losing their job. What about those who are still getting paid, don't have to worry about putting food on the table? They are still affected in some ways.
Well, I think all of us probably know someone who is affected. I know people that are actually affected. So even if we are not directly affected, people in our community and in our families are often affected. And I think it's important to think about what we can do to support those that we love and those that are in our neighborhoods and in our communities that are affected.
This idea of communal stress was new to me until the pandemic, and I talked with a mental health expert in San Francisco who said even if you didn't get sick, even if your business didn't close, even if you are okay, you could still be feeling miserable because of all that you see happening around you. Is that the case today?
I would definitely think so. I think that there's a lot of uncertainty in our environment broadly. There's a lot of political changes that affect the day-to-day lives of a lot of people in a lot of different workplaces, not just job losses and disruptions to benefits, but working in a university setting, changes in policies are consistently affecting my workplace and the decisions that we're making, and I think that affects a lot of sectors. And so there's just a broad air of uncertainty and lack of clarity that I think creates a sense of anxiety for a lot of folks.
Even once the shutdown is resolved, how long could this stay with the person?
Well, I think that the shutdown, as I said, is just one example of a lot of uncertainty and change that we're all experiencing. And so just because the government reopens and that some of these immediate stressors are addressed, it doesn't mean that we're not going to see other forms of uncertainty and anxiety. So I think that for a lot of folks that feel uncertain of where policies are going to go next and how that's going to affect their work life, their personal life, their professional life, that will continue to create a kind of a low level of anxiety or depression.
Yeah. And so what can we do about it?
Well, I think there's lots of ways to manage poor mental health, especially when it's in response to external stressors. I will say one thing that I personally do that has been very helpful is to really be careful about the media that I'm consuming and how much I'm consuming, and really trying to focus on engaging in activities that I find fulfilling and meaningful, things that are disconnected from the internet and from media. But I think also it's important to turn to the social support systems you have in your friends, in your family, and in your communities. And look to them to help you engage in the things that you enjoy the most and that are meaningful to you and that are in your immediate daily life. And the other thing I would say is get outside. I know that as we're moving into winter weather, that's harder to do, but the outdoors, especially outdoors when we're in natural settings, is definitely known to increase low-level stress and depression or anxiety.
Yeah, we're so fortunate here in California. All right, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your time and expertise, Professor Genevieve Graff at the University of Texas at Arlington.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.
It is 20 minutes until 9. President Trump is receiving a lot of criticism for his latest proposal to tackle the housing crisis. He's talking about creating a 50-year mortgage. Since the average first-time home buyer is now 33, that would mean buyers would be well into their 80s before their home is paid off. The president says it's just another tool to make home ownership more affordable. But home buyers and realtors say the idea is not a realistic approach.
The advantage of the 50-year mortgage is that it reduces your monthly payments, so it's easier to qualify for a purchase of a house.
Minor solution to a very major problem, particularly when you think about the additional interest you're paying over 50 years. It's completely not worth it.
Real estate experts say a 50-year mortgage could lower your monthly payment and free up some cash in the short term, but it could also cost buyers millions of dollars more in interest over the duration of the mortgage. Now, this morning we're asking, would a 50-year mortgage help you buy a home? Your options are this: yes, it gets me in the market. The other is, I might consider it. And the other is, no, absolutely not. And 84% of you are saying that right now, overwhelmingly. Just scan the QR code in the top right-hand corner of your screen and go to ktvu.com/vote.
The executive director of Covered California is urging people to sign up early for health insurance. Open enrollment started this week. It comes at a time of uncertainty as federal tax credits that lower the cost of premiums for many are set to expire at the end of the year. If the credits do expire, officials say the monthly cost could double for some people in the middle income bracket. Leaders with Covered California say enrollees still have options.
We do also know most Covered California enrollees will still be eligible for tax credits. We do have some money from the state budget to mitigate some of these impacts, and many people also have more affordable choices than the plan they're enrolled in today.
The government shutdown deal includes a promise of a vote in the Senate next month on extending the subsidies. But as of now, there's no indication any Republicans would vote in favor of it, which means it'll likely not pass.
An ordinary morning commute turning into chaos and panic. Communities responding to a driver nodding off at the wheel.
KTVU's annual One Warm Coat Drive is well underway, and you can help make sure people in need stay warm this winter. If you're able to donate a new or gently worn coat, please scan the QR code on your screen or head to KTVU.com for a list of participating drop-off locations. The One Warm Coat Drive runs until December 14th. 8:45, some of the morning's top stories. New questions being raised about the connection between President Trump and disgraced businessman and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. House Democrats today released emails they subpoenaed from Epstein's estate. In emails written over the past 15 years, Epstein told his longtime associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, and an author, that Donald Trump spent hours with a person who's now considered one of Epstein's sex trafficking victims. Another email says Mr. Trump knew about the girls. President Trump has not commented on this latest case, but has previously denied any knowledge of Epstein's crimes. Here at home, San Mateo County supervisors are expected to name a new sheriff today. The list of candidates has been narrowed to 3. One will replace Christina Corpus, who was removed from office last month. The new sheriff will serve until January of 2029.
The Justice Department plans to investigate how UC Berkeley handled protest on Monday outside of an event on campus by Turning Point USA. 2 people were arrested for misdemeanors after 2 fights broke out. Another man reported being hit in the head with a glass bottle and was taken to a hospital. The university says it will cooperate with federal investigations.
A family in Castro Valley is grieving and in shock after a father of 9 was killed in what's believed to be a road rage confrontation. One person is in custody, but investigators are looking for witnesses. A memorial of candles and flowers stands at the scene of the attack Saturday night near Norbridge and Wilbeam Avenues outside the Castro Valley BART station. 49-year-old Jason Ilola leaves behind 9 children, including a 5-month-old daughter and 4 grandchildren.
He's everything to us. He's everything to so many people, and he didn't deserve this. The only thing that is clear is that my husband was protecting us and that we were scared, and that this person, he didn't have to take my husband.
Gabriel says a driver cut them off, then ran them from behind. Her husband got out of the car to talk to that other driver. It is unclear what happened next, but the family says Ilola was assaulted, suffered a head injury, and died. The other driver initially drove off, then called the CHP to report his involvement and was told to return to the scene. That's when deputies arrested 37-year-old Martin Davis Jr. on suspicion of murder. Across the bay now, and to wild video of an incident that had some Muni riders fearing could have ended in disaster. Newly surfaced images show a Muni light rail train careening through city streets.
The incident actually happened 7 weeks ago, but the video is now coming out due to a public records request. Those terrified passengers there on board the Judah train were thrown against the side of that train. It was headed to downtown San Francisco through the Sunset Tunnel, going about 50 miles an hour. Passengers tried to hold on, but some knocked into each other while some people fell to the floor.
Pretty terrifying, yeah. I guess you know that things like that can happen, but thankfully they're really rare.
Well, the operator, who Muni has not named, tried to calm passengers afterwards and explain what happened.
I'm sorry. Relax. We didn't crash. Relax. It wouldn't stop. Relax. We're okay. It just wouldn't stop. It wouldn't stop. It would not stop. The emergency brake wouldn't even hit. Look, it's on. It wouldn't even stop. I don't know what happened.
Muni says it completed a full investigation and inspection. It examined the train and the tracks, concluded it was a result of operator fatigue. Muni issued a statement saying, quote, the agency is addressing the matter in accordance with internal protocols and the relevant contract, which included placing the operator on non-driving status.
Deal with a very complex city, and I think that we do very well, and like I say, we are constantly to do better. The union is about perfection.
Muni says it's working with the train manufacturer to put in more safety measures, such as installing software that limits the speed of trains at certain points of the route.
San Jose police are searching for whoever broke into more than 100 cars recently. Investigators released this photo of a man they say went through several apartment building garages in North San Jose overnight Saturday, smashing windows and stealing valuables. People we talked with say they thought their parking area was secure.
Just woke up to a message from the group chat that we have with the community saying that there was about 39 cars broken into. Came down, found that my window was broken out.
The passenger side glass was broken. Yeah. And then, I think a few things was like open. The the Jolo was open in the car, and then but like I don't really have anything in my car, so nothing was stolen.
San Jose police want to talk to anyone who recognizes the person in these images. President Trump sent a letter to the president of Israel asking him to pardon Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Netanyahu is in the middle of a corruption trial and is being charged with accepting bribes of about $200,000 from businessmen. He's denied the charges and pleaded not guilty. President Trump also urged the Israeli president to pardon Netanyahu when he visited Israel in October.
It is 8:51, and we've had a tough morning, especially given that yesterday was pretty easy. Today it's not easy. It's going to be a tough morning on 880 and on 580 and on the Bay Bridge. So we do have a lot of people who are there. Some people have been perhaps trying to cheat the carpool lane, and they have been promptly cited. And that's what I see happening on the screen right now. All right, let's go out and take a look at the commute here on the San Mateo Bridge. It's still very heavy. So all of these commutes are still very heavy. If you have any flexibility, you may want to use that and take the first meeting at home or somewhere else and not go on the roads for another hour or two if you can swing it. I know a lot of people can't. 8:51. Here's a man who knows all about the weather. It's Mr. Steve Paulson.
Cheat the carpool lane. That's an expensive one, Sal.
Yeah, it's very expensive.
No kidding. All right. Thank you, sir. I will say this. I think we're going to eventually end up with some pretty big totals here, maybe some minor flood issues, ponding of water, but it's probably coming in a little later, not sooner, and I'll show you why in a second. A lot of increasing clouds, onshore breeze. We will be cooler today, no doubt about it. We maxed out on the temps on Sunday, Monday with 80s. Today it'll be 60s and 70s. A lot of cloud cover, a few sun breaks, but there's just a lot coming in. There could easily be some 4-inch totals here in the next 48 hours. Somewhere probably up in northern Sonoma County, Lake County, and for sure Santa Cruz Mountains. I've been hanging my hat on that, and a lot of what I've seen this morning is kind of verifying that. Windy and cooler as well. Higher elevations have come way down. Mount Veeder at this time yesterday was 70. They're 50 now. Southwest, 31. Oakland Hills right above the Claremont, 54 south at 19. And Boulder Creek was 70 yesterday. Now they're 52, southwest 17. So the inversion has been broken. Cloud cover will continue to roll in and thicken up. But the one key factor here is on the back side of this. You can see the developing low here. The stronger upper level winds are on the backside of this low, so it continues to drive it southward. You need those stronger winds to be on the base of the system or out in advance of it to start marching it inland. I can put in the jet stream, and it's no doubt about it. So it's going to slow it down a little bit. It's still on track. So today is more about cloud cover and cooler temps. Napa, Emeryville, Burlingame, Santa Clara, 60s to low 70s. Southeast wind usually helps Santa Clara Valley and the peninsula. High wind warning starts tonight on the coast and in San Francisco. And a wind advisory for others, that's tonight into tomorrow. Rainfall will hold off a little bit unless you're north. See, that's pretty light by 10 o'clock. There's not much there, drizzle, light rain. Then tomorrow morning it starts to pick up. It's still not bad by 5 in the morning. Now we crank it up. And I think that's what's happening here is this system will stall out a little bit. There will be some big totals here over the next 4 to 6 days. It just depends on which forecast model verifies. That's a lot of rain for some, especially San Jose, Monterey, Sacramento. This could be more of a wind event up in the mountains than a snow event. That's kind of the way it's looking here. But I think Santa Cruz Mountains looking at 4+ for some with that strong orographic lift on this moisture coming in. There will be a roaring low-level jet funneling that moisture into the higher elevations. Mount Tamalpais, Russian River. Bigger fog bank wind picks up. Today's kind of that in-between day, much cooler with a lot of clouds, 60s to a few low 70s.
Steve, thank you much. For years, it's been cast as the culprit behind heart palpitations and irregular heartbeats. When you join us on the 9, why new research says that advice may have been brewing on shaky ground. 8:57 now. The South Bay's Westfield Valley Fair Mall is welcoming several new businesses ahead of next year's Super Bowl and FIFA World Cup. The dine-in theater chain Alamo Drafthouse Cinema has opened its second Bay Area location at the mall. Corsair, a new high-tech interactive gaming store, is set to open this week, and many more openings are scheduled throughout the end of the year, including an Asian food hall and luxury watch store.
Knowing that these malls are still up and running and living warms my heart, especially because I worked retail since I could work. So as someone that's worked in retail and has also lost their job due to stores closing down, I love that businesses are coming back.
Valley Fair had a $1 billion makeover in 2021. The mall says it brings in more sales revenue than any other mall in the state. California is calling on the Trump administration to allow existing federal funding to be used to provide meals to students outside school hours. The State Department of Education is asking for federal waivers that would allow districts to provide to-go meals to students over weekend and holidays. This comes as many families are struggling to put food on the table following federal cuts to CalFresh funding.
There's a new warning that tech companies are driving up the cost of electricity as they build new data centers. A group of Democratic senators wants the Trump administration to detail the steps it's taking to shield consumers from rising energy prices. In 2023, data centers consumed 4.4% of the nation's electricity. That's forecast to jump to 12% by 2028. Tech companies such as Meta and OpenAI say they're building their own energy sources to meet their demands.
The Warriors starting one of the toughest parts of their season. Tonight, they'll play the San Antonio Spurs in the second of a 6-game road trip, the longest trip of the season. The first game did not go well as the Warriors were pounded by the defending NBA champs Oklahoma City Thunder, 126-102. The Warriors trailed by 19 points at halftime, but then the Thunder broke the game open in the third quarter. We'll be right back. Mornings on 2. The 9 starts in 60 seconds.